is the Matrix?
All right, welcome back to a brand new video of the Target Individual Program, Target Individual Experience. So about a few minutes after I uploaded the video that you guys see on cognitive warfare, of course, they have to find a self-hating Negropean to send these sort of subliminal messages. Not also that, but again, hacking into my Facebook account and sending out requests or accepting requests from others who are part of this. And I'm going to, again, show you guys and give you guys another perfect example of this retaliation with the subliminal threats, the coercive threats. And, you know, as I started doing this, the New York Predator Department, again, started to use their sirens because they knew and know that I am about to expose them. So anyway, so I got a notification that I had two notification on Facebook, right? And I saw this person, the laughing emoji, this profile, you know, it could be, you know, again, we know white racist people create these sort of profiles on Facebook with black people, pictures, you know, claiming to be white. Of course, it's pro-Trump, right? So it could be a Negropean, could be a white racist who are hiding behind another person's image as their Facebook profile. So I click on there, right? And it's about, because I just uploaded the video. What was the video about? Cognitive warfare in video games, right? So again, I want you guys to see, look at the date, January, well, today is the January 20th, right? It's 11:44. But I posted this on the 18th, right? And it's, and I say it is the programming through cognitive and neurocognitive warfare against black people on a global scale, and most of us have no idea what has taken place. The white supremacist war against black people, and the results are destroying us. And this is about creating trauma within the society, within a group of people. So creating trauma within society refers to the process of generating widespread psychological harm. Again, I'm not making this up. This is what is being said. This is what elites do. This is what white supremacists do, particularly within America, within the black American population, right? Or black people living in America, right? This is what they do, creating trauma in society. You talk about the police shootings. What that does is that it traumatizes black people. Okay, and there have been studies on these things. I'm not just saying this, all right? Also, we know that trauma is passed down generationally, right? So again, this is not something I'm making up. You guys can go, you don't want to believe me? There's research done by Dr. Greer. She was a black professor, and she talks about, what is it, epigenetics, right? The passing down of trauma through the offspring. Now, they've done this study with Jewish European Jews after the ending of World War II, about a decade or two later, and they found the same thing, right? Through what the survivors of the European Jewish genocide that took place in Germany, and how the descendants of those who survive, what sort of genetic reprogramming or reconditioning that has taken place. Okay, I'm not saying this. You guys can go do the research on this. So anyhow, creating trauma within society referred to the process of generating widespread psychological harm within a community or population through events like systemic oppression. Again, there's documentation that tells you, that shows you, proves that oppression leads to trauma, leads to psychological illnesses. Again, poverty also, miseducation. Of course, when you miseducated people, they don't know who they are. They become somebody else. They become who you want them to be, right? Medical, we know about the medical crimes committed by white doctors, white neuroscientists within the American population, particularly against black people, but also they do it against white people too, right? Natural disasters, again, are extreme social disruption leading to a collective trauma where many individuals experience significant emotional distress and lasting negative impact on their well-being due to the shared experience of fear, insecurity, and loss. Again, I always talk about in America what the white racist police do, or the police state do, is traumatize black people through fear-based trauma conditioning, which is, again, the killing of unarmed black people, the brutality that takes place at the hands of the Predator Department and their Predator officers all across the U.S. In terms of the violent assault committed against black people. But I've always said this also, that eventually is going to happen to white people too, as well as other groups, right? Because they've remained silent. And so now the conditioning of the minds of the predators on the police force is that now they can do it to you, because now it's not just about a person of color, it's about you disrespecting their authority. And sociopath, narcissistic people, psychopathic people, dark-tried people don't like their authority questioned. Okay? So I've said this decades ago. All right? Where it says here, let me just continue from it. So creating a situation where a large group of people are deeply affected by a traumatic event, potentially leading to intergenerational consequences if left unaddressed. Okay? So if I click on here, this person says no caller ID. And again, this is a tactic that they use when they will call your phone and send you subliminal message like call me the N-word and, threatening to kill my children and stuff like that. They use, phones where, again, they hide their number, right? So this is why the no caller ID thing comes up. The sick minds of these people. Now, I want you to look at the description of this person, no caller ID. This friends with Sonia Mull. And again, I'm going to go to this person profile, let you guys know that I did not send this person their friend request, right? But somehow they are my friends list. All right. So Vice President of International Mortuary Removal Tech Association, Inc., President of Bayes Removal and Mortuary Service. So let's click on their profile. Okay. Again, you look at his profile picture. You got the Don and I slept and hung out with President Trump at Trump International Las Vegas, time of my life. Now, if this is a black person, again, Negropeans already. You know what I'm saying? They're more concerned about their money, the fact that they can control women, the fact that they feel slighted by the left, and again, some points I can agree with, but these are highly misogynistic individuals, whether they're white male, black male, Hispanic male, what have you, right? Now, I'm conservative in some ways, right? But I consider myself to be a realist, right? So anyhow, let's go. So if you look at the description, right? Again, the threat of death and assassination, because it's very interesting. After I posted that video, all of a sudden, this shows up, right? He shows up, okay? Or whatever, whoever it is shows up, right? Again, funeral director, embalmer at Jeff Bezos, commanding officer of 1st Civil Division, such and such. Again, funeral. That's all you see, right? And all he's a former Marine, right? Which is surprising because we know that there's a lot of racism within the military, okay? Again, here you got a picture of Donald Trump and Martin Luther King. First of all, if Martin Luther King was alive today, he would not meet with Donald Trump. Donald Trump stands for everything that Martin Luther King is against. Okay? So the fact that they will engage in such, delusional mindset and way of thinking, right? And, listen, I thank you for your service. But they've done a miraculous job of manipulating you, right, to the point where you think that voting for a guy who's a racist, right, that he has your back. He doesn't have your back, okay? He does not have your back, all right? And here he is, Black Lives MAGA. Now, this is the type of Negropean who will go to another state or be very unfortunate to meet a racist cop if it happens, right? And he will still have the same mindset, even if he is attacked, right, for being black, or he might pull out his Trump card, say, "Hey, I voted for Trump, and Trump is my, my dude," right? So some Negropeans know how to play the game, but I'm doing this because I want to show you guys how to engage in coercive psychological threats. All right. Okay. So again, I don't even, the fact that as soon as, look, mass deportation, here he is again, make America great again. When was America great? As you as a black man? You know what I'm saying? It's like these people have no clue. We're talking about the brainwashing. And these people don't believe that they're brainwashed. They live in their bubble because nothing has happened to them so far. Right? So this is why you see these Negropeans behave the way that they behave. Right? So they're against gay people, which, that's your thing. I'm not against gay people. But I know there is an agenda to turn black men and black women into that sort of alternate lifestyle. Okay? I know because they've attempted on me in this coercive persuasion program. Okay? Again, with money, using money as a tool, but that doesn't work with me. I'm not selling myself for money. I know who I am as a man, and as a black man, I know who I am. Okay? So yeah. So anyway, let's go to the friend in common. So I have one mutual friend in common. Okay? Let's go to this person. And again, let's see this individual here. Now I'm saying to myself, did I send this person a friend request? And would I? Based on their pictures, okay? Would I have sent this person a friend request? All right? And the answer is no. The answer is no. But like I said, they know how to sneak in their attacks. They know how to hack into your account, particularly my account on Facebook, and accept friend requests. And then as a week or two or a month goes by, right, I might post something and then one of the trolls will come on. And why and how do they know it? Because again, they do through the friend thing. Okay, so I just want to show you guys this. And this is today. This is, again, after I posted the video on cognitive warfare in video games. What was the response on their part? Was to send a Negropean, okay, this guy here with the "Make America Great Again." So what makes America so great? The enslavement of black people, right? The decade of after the ending of slavery, right, to where black people were holding political office. And then after a decade, we had the white backlash, the introduction of Jim Crow, right? So tell me, as a black man, what makes America so great? I can understand it being great for white people. But again, this is what happened when Negropeans have it a little better than the rest of us. They may live in a certain states, right? You'll see them wearing the Confederate flag, talking about it's their history. It is not your history. Okay? You think Donald Trump give a damn about you? Donald Trump is a wealthy multi-millionaire. All right? They try to make Donald Trump as if he's against the deep state. Donald Trump is the deep state. Just like you have two political parties in the deep state, you have different ideology. But the one thing they have in common is the destruction of black people and keeping us at the bottom in the American society. right? This is what these Negropeans don't understand. But this is why I have to introduce these things and that you guys see these. So these are coercive mind control tactics, right? And then the intimidation, the threats, the psychological threats. Okay. And because I recognize these things and I know these things and I've created a defense mechanism against these things, again, I'm not afraid. Right? Now, do I get afraid? Yes. But I understand that's just part of my human nature. But you work past it. Right? Courage comes when you are afraid. That's when you become courageous. And you have to understand that. You have to embrace the fear, but also embrace the courage. Right? And so when they engage in these psychological threats about being assassinated, being killed, I just tell them, listen, that's the only way you're going to be able to shut me up. Okay? So stop talking and do what you're going to do. Because guess what? You'll be assassinated too. All right? So I have, like I said, I don't let those things put me in that extreme fight or flight mode anymore. Right? Because I know they use it as a weapon to stress you out. And with stress comes a lot of illnesses. The weaponization of stress, using anxiety, using the isolation, social isolation, loss of privilege, right? Intense guilt, anxiety, manipulation, and other techniques. Is to create what? A strong, aversive emotional arousal. And it's negative because it affects you negatively. Right? So again, this is what they do. Right? These tactics of psychological force are applied to such a severe degree that the individual's capacity to make informed or free choice become inhibited. So when they do this to you, they affect your decision making. Right? Now, are they going to hold themselves responsible? No. And the reason why, because they can say, you're crazy. You have a mental illness. And so why do they say that? Is because when they cannot get away with doing what they've done to you, when you've exposed them in such a way that all they can do is pull out the crazy card, the mental illness card. Now, that's not to say that you have not been psychologically harmed by what it is that they've done. But I want you to understand that when you start to become confident in yourself, not the false sense of confidence that they give you through silent sound, through psychological manipulation, through manipulation of people around you, manipulation of your environment, and such a thing. It is to do that so then they can say that, look, there's nothing wrong with him. We've deprogrammed him or her. There's nothing wrong with her. When we know it's a lie. And like I said, I'm not the only one that knows this. This is thoroughly researched, fairly thoroughly documented. And I use the situation of an egg. When you crack an egg open, okay, there's nothing you can do to make it hold again. You can put the yolk back in, you're going to lose some of the yolk because you're not going to get everything, all right? You can glue it, but guess what? It's still not whole. It looks whole, but then you start to see all the cracks that are held together by glue. All right? Now, when you break a dish, right, you can glue it back together, but the dish is still broken. It's just the glue that's holding it together. All right? So it'll never be the same. And I understand this. I know this. I know what they've done to my mind, that I will never be the same. Okay? But at least I can learn. At least I can learn what it is that they're doing. At least I can develop self-defense mechanism to combat things that they do on a daily basis. Right? And I can fight back in the best way I know how. I'm not going to fight back physically unless I'm attacked physically. Right? So I fight back in the psychological realm. I fight back by sharing information, by doing research, by exposing what it is that they're doing, by giving you an explanation as to what I know and think is happening. Not believe. Okay, I don't do that. All right. So when I show you guys this coercive mind control tactics, understand that it all falls under the banner of cognitive warfare. Okay? They all fall under the banner of cognitive warfare. And again, many people have no clue, have no idea of what's being done. So, again, as a refresher, I want to show you guys this. Again, this is just one article from Insights, all right? Knowledge-driven content. September 2nd, 2024. As I said, content, you hear. So cognitive warfare targets how we feel, how we think, feel, and react to stimuli. Same way coercive mind control tactics work, right? Coercive psychological system, a behavioral change program that use psychological force in a coercive way to cause the learning and adaptation of an ideology or designated set of belief, ideas, attitudes, or behavior. The essential strategy used by the operators of this program is to systematically select, sequence, and coordinate many different types of coercive influence, anxiety, and stress-producing tactics over a continuous period of time. In such a program, the subject is forced to adapt in a series of tiny invisible steps. Each tiny steps is designed to be significantly small so that the subject will not notice the changes in themselves or identify the coercive nature of the process being used. The subjects of these tactics do not become aware of the hidden organizational purpose of the coercive psychological program much later, if ever. These tactics are usually applied in a group setting by well-intended but deceived friends and ally of the victim. This keeps the victim from putting up the ego defense we normally maintain in known adversarial situation. The coercive psychological influence of these programs aim to overcome the individual's critical thinking abilities and free will. As I said, thinking abilities. Yes, I think. I don't believe. Yes, as I said the word I think, because they don't want us to think. They want us to just believe. Why? Because when they're using microwave and radio frequency weapon to manipulate our mind, we believe in that is God, and it's not God. All right, it's a weapon that the U.S. government have developed that they are using to manipulate the society or to attack those they feel are a threat. This is the white supremacists here I'm talking about within the government and within society. All right. So, apart from any appeal to informed judgment, victims gradually lose their ability to make independent decisions and exercise informed consent. As I said, independent. All right. Again, because this is what they do in terms of engaging in this sort of behavior to entrap, to manipulate, to control without anybody around seeing the psychological coercive nature, it's why it's called coercive mind control tactics, right? It's being done not only in the psychological realm. This is just the psychology of it. But I talk about covert warfare, right? This would be considered covert psychological warfare, but also covert warfare, drugging, honey traps, manipulation of your livelihood, right? Trying to silence you, and when you don't become silent, you get fired from your job. And you were a good employee, you were such a good employee that, other people or other companies want you, right? Or if you work for a company that I used to work for, you know, companies that hire us will say, hey, we want Nigel. I went across the country to work on jobs, okay? But I got laid off, fired, because I refused to be silent. And particularly when after a few years of doing my talk show program, and I refused to be silent, you know, that's why. And then they hire somebody and pay them more. A white person, of course. So again, anyhow, so the critical thinking, defensive cognitive process, value, ideas, attitudes, conduct, and ability to reason are undermined by a technological process rather than by a meaningful free choice. Rationality or the inherent merit or value of the ideas or position being presented. And then it goes on to give you the tactics and the methods. Okay? So in cognitive warfare, again, cognitive warfare targets how we think, feel, and react to stimuli. Policymakers must take into action to not only regulate emerging technology, but also to identify and address the vulnerabilities in our cognition, writes Irene Pujol. Okay? So in an era marked by geopolitical tension and unprecedented technological advancement and disruption, a new battleground is emerging. And again, it's not a new battleground. I talk about this, how the U.S. government will use black people as experiments. So while they are becoming expert in cognitive warfare, they're using these tactics on black people, particularly black men and black women. Okay? But they do it to our society too. When the military is running their Hearts on Mind campaign, that's cognitive warfare. Right? But you don't see it. This is how they can get the public to justify a war with a country based on lies. And when that lie is uncovered, there is no public backlash. All right? That's how cognitive warfare works. Okay? So, our minds. Cognitive warfare, a concept being explored by NATO Innovation Hub since 2021, represents a shift in global conflict in which the strategic aim is to influence human cognition. Indeed, cognitive warfare is an increasing global security concern driven by advances in neuroscience, AI, and emerging technology, and the proliferation of social media. Understanding this evolving threat and preparing to combat it is critical. Now, I want to give you guys an example of cognitive warfare from the 1980s. Like, again, this is nothing new. Black psychologists have been talking about cognitive warfare since the 1990s. But this is in the 80s, where you had the Central Park Five, and talk about the Donald Trump thing, right? But here you have 5 teenagers arrested for the essay of a white woman, okay, who were tortured, right? They were tortured, okay? But the racist cops got the black community to believe their lie. So these children were questioned without their parents present. And again, that is a violation of their rights, right? And again, as I was talking about that, the New York Police Department using the sirens. See, these people feel because they got a gun in the badge, they can do whatever they want to do. Okay? This is what it is in America, right? Law enforcement is a federally criminalized, authorized gang. It is the biggest gang in America. Okay? So, what was I about to say? Yeah, the Central Park Five. Question without, these are teenagers now, question without their parents being available, or a lawyer, okay? Manipulated, right? Starved, verbal abuse, to now these children are signing a confession that they were coerced and forced into making. right? And the newspaper calling them monsters, and the black community not having any sort of sympathy for these children, right? But they didn't view them as children. They viewed them as adults. You know, it's funny how two white children can open up fire on police officers using automatic weapons, and yet you hear cops saying, you know, just let them shoot it out, and eventually they get tired and they'll wait. We see these things all the time. But again, I want you to understand how cognitive warfare goes back to the 90s. How the U.S. government, those within the Predator Department, law enforcement Predator Department across this nation, have engaged in cognitive warfare against the black population. Right? So these children, tortured, coerced into confession, convicted, spend decades and decades in prison, while the perpetrator who actually did the crime decades later was even, I'm not sure even the decades later or what have you, but was later caught, right, that this person committed the crime. So one, the New York Predator Department fabricated evidence, right, engaged in the violation of children, black children, but yet we, the black community, we accepted it. I mean, I was a young kid back then. You know, I was a teenager also. And then Donald Trump speaking negatively and disparagingly about these kids. But I want you to understand how this system works. How this system can make you and I believe something that's not true. And innocent people will spend decades in prison for crimes they didn't commit. All right? They did this again to another young brother who they charged with the essay of a white woman, and I think she died, what have you. This young teenager at the time, or young man at the time, you know, he had some cognitive issue. But yet, they tried to pin the crime in his gut with no DNA evidence. You know, they understand how to recognize people, how they know who is mentally challenged. All right. And again, these people, they're not about justice. The majority of them is about pinning crimes on black people. The vast majority of people who are, what's the word I'm looking for? Who are found not guilty of crimes that they were committed, are found guilty of, are black men. Right? And again, there is no unified rage among black people. That's what I said. We are, well, I didn't really say, you know, I got it from Dr. Ray Higgins. We are domesticated people. All right? He's the one I heard say this. And when I look at our people, black people, we are a domesticated people. Right? But understand that this also happens to white people, it happens to Hispanic people also, but not to the extent that it happens to black people, and particularly black men. Okay? So, the premise of cognitive warfare is based on the recognition that while operations of manipulation and deception have historically been integral to broader military tactics, today's landscape is markedly different. Influencing how individual and group think, react, and make decisions has transformed from a tactical to a strategic objective in its own right, and one that is increasingly within reach. The drivers of the development can be summarized in 3 words: knowledge, incentives, and mean. But again, I understand who is writing these articles. Can't be a black person writing this. Because if you are an intelligent black person, not a smart black person, not book smart, but an intelligent black person, you will know that they have engaged in this cognitive warfare and neurocognitive warfare against the black population. Right? They have knowledge, they have incentives, and they have the means to do it. The knowledge driver of cognitive warfare, which is often overlooked, stems from our growing understanding of how the human mind works, thanks to decades of research in neuroscience, behavioral economics, and psychology. In fact, according to Harvard's Business School professor Jared Zaltman, only a small fraction of our decisions, around 5%, are rational. The remainder of our decisions are limited by what Herbert Simmons called bound rationality and are influenced by unconscious factors such as repetition, automatic response, biases, and fallacies. So I'll talk about repetition and unconscious response, your triggers and anchors. All right. As Nobel laureate Daniel Kahneman argued in his book, Thinking Fast and Slow, our brains are wired to take automatic shortcuts for most of the decisions we make daily, such as choosing what to eat or responding to social cues. This is because deliberate analysis consumes a lot of mental energy. Examples of these mental shortcuts include the anchoring effects, right? The anchoring effect, our tendencies to rely too heavily on the first piece of information we encounter, the anchor, when making decisions. Confirmation bias, or inclination to seek out, interpret, and remember information that confirms our existing belief and preconception. The exploitation of cognitive bias is not new. Marketing companies have been leveraging this knowledge for years to sell products, and often ones we don't need. You look at cell phones and how every year tens of millions of people will get a new phone when they don't need to. Particularly today, particularly within the past decade. Okay? However, over the past decade, the exploitation of cognitive bias have expanded beyond consumer manipulation, and now disinformation campaign and other influence operations have become central to both global politics and modern warfare. Why? Because they have incentivized to do so. A second driver of cognitive warfare, engaging in cognitive warfare, offer a safe and cost-effective way to achieve strategic goals, often without the risk and expense associated with conventional military action. Okay? Let's talk about the AI, the immediate response to things that I do, say, watch, read, right? The ability of AI system to learn and instantly adapt their message to their interlocutors will enable a new level of micro-targeting and personalized disinformation. Well, they didn't need AI to do that on a national scale. And so when I talk about the disinformation, right, the micro-targeting, and what they call unintended bias, or what's the word I'm looking for? Unconscious bias, right? And the disinformation. And it doesn't have to be, it wasn't a time, yes, it was personalized against a group of people, black people. Black people are lazy, black people are on welfare, when the reality is that more white people is on welfare than black people, right? Black people commit more crime, when the reality is white people commit the most crime in the U.S., right? You know what I'm saying? Black people use more drugs, when the reality is white people engage in more drug use and sell more drugs than anybody else in the U.S., right? So putting the negative aspect of their behavior onto us as black people, this is what white people do. So they have engaged in cognitive warfare against us for decades, hundreds of years. They may have gone by a different terminology, right? But the methods and tactics are all the same. They may develop new methods and tactics based on technological advancement, based on studies on psychology, study of the brain, weaponization of everything. All right. So just wanted to, again, expose what it is that they're doing, how they're doing it. All right. Again, this is why I do what I do. It's why I document, regardless of the threats. And this video is going to go up. All right. So that you know, they keep doing these threats, and it just, you know, emboldened me to do these videos. All right. And so, you know, it is what it is. But we got to fight back. We got to make the public aware of the hidden agenda of these evil, wicked people. All right. So I will speak to you guys on the next Target Individual Program, Target Individual Experience.
Your mind, you must unlearn what you have learned.